As I said last Friday, it's impossible not to have sympathy for the Sri Lankan family now facing deportation from Australia. It's mum, dad, 2 kids, a working family who have settled well into a Queensland country town. But under our immigration policy and Australian law, that's not the test. It's how they came and what they claim that matters. 7 times, including right up to the High Court, neither mum nor dad have been found to be refugees, and as we know, both paid people smugglers, responsible for the deaths of hundreds of men, women and children just like this family to get here. Others in the media who want to talk about this issue don't have the experience I've had cleaning up the mess that's left when you run an immigration system based on people smugglers and sympathy. Nor will I cop anyone trying to suggest, as they have over the past few days, that Australians who say they should go back to Sri Lanka lack compassion. I've said this before, but it bears repeating. Australia is one of only 27 countries in the world that resettle refugees under the auspices of the UN. So that makes it, last time I looked, that around 160 other countries do not. So please, to the activists and those who do not understand the law or global practice here, spare us all your sanctimony about an issue you know so little about. Today I sat in the newsroom here at Sky and took a couple of calls from ordinary viewers like you who want this family to go. And they called Sky to make sure their voices were heard. Now, I don't normally take calls, granted, but today I wanted to get a read on the mood. And boy, didn't I hear it. This is where Anthony Albanese's got it wrong. This is where Labor have got it wrong. They've never had to do the hard work to stop the boats. All they've done and what they would do again, look at what Albanese says, look at what the spokeswoman Christina Keneally says, would be to scrap the policies that work and start the boats up again. Having been there and done it, let me tell you the hard and bloody unpalatable truth. The job of government is not to make easy decisions. If it was easy, some fence-sitting, risk-adverse bureaucrat would have done it already. The fact that a decision is in a minister's office or on the Prime Minister's desk means it's hard. And the job of government, the job you elect them to do, is to make the tough decisions needed to keep you and our country safe. I never want to hear any government apologise for that. Since May, there have been 6 people smuggling ventures from Sri Lanka. Obviously, they heard about the weakening of our laws after the Phelps Medivac legislation passed last year, and they hoped for a Bill Shorten win. I could assure you from the security briefings I used to get day in, day out, that people smugglers will be using the wall-to-wall publicity that this case has generated to claim things are changing in Australia. Australians are on your side. If you have a go, it'll work out for you too. Prime Minister Scott Morrison's job and Home Affairs Minister Peter Dutton's job is not to win the 5 minutes of applause that might come from surrendering to activists on this case. It's to ensure that everything possible is done to make sure that Labor's wave of the illegal boats and deaths at sea don't start again. Have compassion. Show Christian leadership. That's what Labor says today. Yet the instant more boats start coming, Labor will insist that it's the government's policies that have failed and that the government is to blame now for deaths at sea. This is not about this family. It's about creating a new precedent, helped along, hopefully, by an activist judge when this case is in court in Melbourne tomorrow, that will allow a parent who has failed to meet the refugee test to stay, provided they can come up with a child born shortly after arrival here in Australia. And here's what I found out today that I didn't know about this family. Given that the father in this case went in and out of Sri Lanka several times during the Civil War and never claimed to be a refugee in any of the other countries he visited during that time, and was never hassled by Sri Lankan authorities on his way in and out of Sri Lanka, where supposedly he now says He was in fear of his life and only claimed to be a refugee after the Civil War was well and truly over, it's impossible not to avoid the conclusion that he's a would-be economic migrant claiming to be a refugee in order to get around our immigration rules. That he wants a better life in Australia, who can blame him? But if everyone who wants a better life here is going to be allowed in, our country would no longer be in charge of its borders and, well, the rest, you can work that out for yourself. In all of this, the hypocrisy of the Labor Party is breathtaking. How can Scott Morrison be required in Labor's tortured mental gymnastics to use his Christian faith to free these boat people when employers, in Labor's logic, are quite right to sack people like Israel Folau who quote the Bible out of work hours on social media? How can the Prime Minister be required to govern according to his Christian faith on boat people but not on other issues where religious organisations have a strong position, like euthanasia and indeed abortion? Labor's selective logic might make good for media, but again and again and again, it just shows you cannot trust them to govern our country, or God help us manage our borders.